Well, hello all, and welcome to yet another match preview at cricket.com. I am Somesh Agarwal, and as always, I have Gurkirat and Nikhil with me to chat all about this relatively low profile encounter between Bangladesh and Afghanistan. But I mean, it is low profile after after a big India Pakistan game yesterday. But from a Bangladesh scheme of things, it's a must win game. So let's get cracking. Yep, that's a very long interesting, if I may say. We're starting a little different than usual. Usually we start 5 minutes pre-toss, but today we were sort of wanted to see what the changes are so that we can initiate the conversation from there. I would want to start with Nikhil first and Bangladesh, of course, because it's a must-win game for them. Like I said, they made three changes, Nikhil. Panic already, and how do you try to make sense of those three changes?
Uh, I don't think it's panic as much as maybe just taking things as they are, because I think Mustafizur he had a knee niggle which was surprising when he played in the first place. So that's where, and he bowled only 3 overs. So you expected that one change to happen for sure with Hassan coming in. So that was a change that you expected. The thing about, we talked about having a extra all-rounder in place of a bowler. So maybe that's why you get two now in Afif and Shamim. Shamim is somebody that I'm sure many who have watched Bangladesh T20 cricket will be aware of him. Shamim Hussain Patwari, he's been part of the setup for a while. So they now have more depth in that sense. But again, I think eventually it is going to be about how they use them well. Because at times I feel that Bangladesh go too much into matchups and all of that, and they don't really use their best bowlers. Same is the, I think, situation at times with Afghanistan, who end up relying on the certain individuals. So
Hmm.
Bangladesh have a lot of options, which is good, but now it will be about using them well.
So sticking to Bangladesh and the player that you spoke about, Shamim, for our viewers, Nikhil, would you want to elaborate on what sort of his role would be? What kind of a bowler is he? Because I'm hearing his name for the first time. I mean, apologies for not being
No
well
problem.
informed about a few players.
No. I think it's. I'll first say his primary role is that of a batter. I mean, a lower order batter, if you want to call it that way. And he's won them games. Made his T20 debut in 2021. So again, seen a lot of him in the BPL, which is why I know him from there. And he's somebody who they've also used to promote in terms of, okay, he can, and as you can see in the list on the broadcaster, he's slated to bat at 5. So that just tells you that you can trust him. He's kind of crisis man, but that is how I look at him. And it is his international debut, and I already feel that I've seen enough of him, but it may not always translate into international performances. So a good, solid middle order batter who can play spin and pace both decently well. Someone with fine temperament. So yeah, looking forward to watching him play.
Okay. So talking about one other change that Bangladesh has made, Gurkirat, now they've dropped the player who was handed a debut in just the last game. I mean, how does that make you feel about their planning and the management of players in general, especially in the big tournament like this?
Yeah, I mean, uh, I believe it's probably happened because they wanted to strengthen their batting, because Afif has shown batting prowess in the past. He was actually one of the players that I was looking forward for Bangladesh to do well in the World T20 last year, because he's someone who's really been capable, at least in T20s, he's been able to score those extra runs in the end. So I believe it is coming from that, because in the last game they collapsed, they collapsed in a very unnatural manner. They were some 140 odd for four, and then they collapsed to 167. So I believe this has got to do something with having a safety first approach, and probably then seeing how it
Mm.
goes from there. I do feel that they've probably elongated their batting depth, at the cost of bowling quality. and at a venue like Lahore, it may not be the best thing to do, because we've seen the average score is 293 in the PSL, and whenever Pakistan are playing at Gaddafi Stadium, there are runs to be scored. So uh, if Bangladesh are not able to put up a decent total, and when I mean decent total, I mean somewhere in the range of 280, 290, then they could be in trouble, and Afghanistan will not be out of the game. They'll
But
need a good total.
yeah, but the other way to look at it is maybe they feel that it's Afghanistan's bowling which is more of a headache than their batting. So they need something to counter that.
Yeah, could be that also, because as we have been discussing with respect to Afghanistan, that outside of the top three, runs have not come from Shahidi or from Najibullah is all has also been injured, and even Rahmat Shah got dropped in that ODI series, who has been one of their top three scorers in recent times. So yes, there is a huge underbelly. So maybe the idea is that if we can put up a good enough total, and then anyway the openers start slow, the strike rates have been an issue, so they believe that probably the thinking would be that under the mountain of runs which is on the board, probably Afghanistan will succumb anyway. Could be that thinking, but yeah, I mean, you never know how things can pan out.
Yep, you never know. I mean, with that, we'll talk about Afghanistan's 11 as well. So, Nikhil, maybe your first thoughts, predicted lines, or any surprise?
No predicted lines. I think what I found actually interesting from both captains is they both wanted to bat first, and the pitch report from Deepdas Gupta has also said that he looks that it is a bit dry, so the cracks could open up, and then that could change a lot of things, because we already know how spin is what Afghanistan thrive on, so they are not going to mind it. But something that I'm sure you will get to as well is the number of left-handed options that are there in the Bangladesh top order, and I'm keen to see who's opening, because I've read somewhere Mehdi Hassan could also open today. So that could really push things along uh, further in the direction of Mohammad Nabi and Mujib opening the bowling, which may not help Bangladesh. But otherwise, I think that the unit is pretty much what you expect it to be. Kareem Jannat is getting an ODI after 6 years, if I'm not wrong. So that is something that you see with Afghanistan cricket very often. Sometimes people are called back from wildest of the wilderness. So, but then it is something that they've relied on. They relied on in the past. They want Najibullah back, who's not been in the best of form. So to me, the batting group looks really dependent on top two. I think they are really dependent on the form of the top two. If those two, Gurbaz and Ibrahim Zadaran, don't click, I think the rest will find it tough. But again, if it's a slow dough deck and they are keeping Bangladesh to a very low score, then you can have Karim Jannat, Gulbuddin Naibs, Mohammad Dabi to get to those 25-30s, which could do the job.
Yeah, and
So lots of pressure on Shahidi and Najibullah Zadran.
yeah, talking about changes, they've
Just
also brought in
on that bit,
Yeah,
yeah, just a minor pointer here that they've also brought in Rahmat Shah,
Rahmat Shah.
who, if I'm not mistaken, was dropped for the third ODI against Pakistan.
Second and third ODI was
Second and third ODI. Yeah, good, Kiran. Yeah, you wanted to add something.
another thing that is there is that Afghanistan are all. This is Afghanistan's first ODI game at this venue. Bangladesh are playing here after 15 years, and the last time that they played, only one player from the squad was a part of that team. If anyone want to guess,
It is Rahim, obviously.
yeah, Mushfiqur Rahim.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah, I mean,
alluded
had to be one of the two.
Yeah, Shakib
Yes,
or
or
Rahim.
Shakib or Rahim.
Yep.
But
So
Rahim's had a huge, big career that way.
absolutely. I mean, who can forget? I mean, them playing that 2007
We are
game.
not talking about that game. They're
Yeah, so moving on. I mean, moving on to the next segment, so to speak. What are the key matchups that you are looking forward to in this game? Gurgeet, I'll start with you first.
Mujib versus left-handers is an obvious matchup that Nikhil mentioned, and it is very likely that one spinner will get the ball from the other end because of how the pace bowling options stack up for Afghanistan right now. That whosoever has been their second pacer has been injured, so that is a huge uh, matchup and could probably play a huge part in determining the result of the game.
Nikhil, for you, nothing to add.
Yeah, kind of, because it is a very big matchup. The bit about Mujib and Nabi versus the left-handers is that's the cream of the batting. Shamim again is a left-handed batter, so a lot
Afif is
will
also
again.
left-handed.
Afif, exactly. So it's almost, and the entire batting lineup, barring two people, Rahim and Tawhid Hridayat, everybody is, and of course you have Mehdi Hasan, which is why I think the opening could be where they could change things around to not have Mujib, but Mujib is now also bowling swing. I mean, he's using the releases have been such that he's getting the ball to move in the air, which is good, and that is going to test the entire lineup. So uh, it's very difficult to look past that matchup. I think Tawhid Hridayat versus Rashid Khan, a very small sample size. And again, bias for Tawhid Hridayat, but I hope he does well. Someone who's I've seen play in the BPL and other tournaments, and he's played Rashid Khan decently. Again, very small sample size, but him and Rahim will be crucial. Rahim last game, again, as we talked about, it was a crucial dismissal when he got out because they needed those extra 30-40 runs, and it could have changed things around. So I think, and they are also batting first. So there is batting depth on paper, but there are plenty of holes to fill there.
And Rashid has played a lot of cricket at this venue. He
Yeah,
plays for Lahore
yeah,
Qalandar, so he'll know.
yeah.
I was just looking at our FRC on the app. Shakib versus Rahmanullah Gurbaz could also be a matchup because the numbers are like he's been. I think in 73 balls he scored 61 runs and been dismissed thrice. Gurbaz has been dismissed thrice by Shakib, so that is another matchup that we could look at.
Hmm. Okay, moving on from key matchups, so I'll start with Bangladesh first because, as I've been mentioning like a broken record, this is a must-win game for them. If they lose, they are just out of this tournament. Who is that one player that they really uh, definitely would need him to click so as to everything then comes together? Maybe we can start with Nikhil first here. Is it the obvious one in Shakib, or do you feel it differently? You've already mentioned Ridoy.
Yeah, I think you also want some consistency from the top order. That's where Bangladesh have had success with Tamim and Das in the past. So if Shanto can continue his good form from the last game, and Naeem Shape can chip in, that will go a long way in giving the likes of Shakib Rahim good enough confidence and platform to come in and then have that above par score. That okay, if it doesn't dry out, if it gets better to bat, you still have those extra 25-30 runs, and you have a lot of all-rounders to follow. But then those all-rounders are not somebody, while they can do the job, they can bowl a century of their own. But you want the top three only to set the tone for them. And there is a very good matchup for left arm pace versus Bangladesh because Shariful Islam has done that in the past and he's done well. Taskin Ahmed has been taking wickets. So I think they have the bowling combination, but they will need a score. Even in the last game, they made Sri Lanka huff and puff, and it took an Asalanka special and Sadira Vikrama to take care of
Hmm.
the batting lineup. So I think they'll need a good start. Once that top order clicks, I think everything will fall in place for them.
Hmm.
One thing that I sometimes, I feel Bangladesh are not very flexible enough is with, the entry points of someone like Mushfiqur Rahim. I thought that last game they could have really sent him at number 5 instead of holding back at number 6. I believe, see, yes, he's done the rescue job so many times, right? But if you know that he's your best batter, in the middle order, might as well give him more time to bat and not always let him do the rescue job. Just let him come in at number 5 so that he can you know ensure that the innings is going at a decent rate, and then you let the all rounders which Nikhil has been mentioning or talking about to then go all out. Because I feel sometimes when they send in someone who's not as experienced, and especially in the last game the way Tikshana was bowling and how Sri Lanka were doing, maybe the experience of Rahim could have helped. And
Hmm.
I do think that today, if they have learned something from the last game, and given the fact that this is a must-win game, they could really send Mushkur Rahim at 5 and allow him more time to bat, and help themselves post a better total.
Yeah, but I think if we go by the list, and people here are also mentioning that the same, that Mehdi Hasan Miraj has been mentioned as an opener, because then if he opens, then Mushfiqur again comes at 6, considering Rudoy batted at 5 last time, so they might want to persist with that. Moving on to Afghanistan and Gurkiat, we'll go with you first. Similar to Bangladesh, who's that key player that they really couldn't afford to have an off day.
Bangladesh, right?
Afghanistan. We've already spoken about
Afghanistan.
Bangladesh. Yeah.
Yeah, Afghanistan. Like I think what Afghanistan would probably look for is one of Rahmat Shah or Najibullah Zadran to post a good innings or have a good innings, because right now there is just too much pressure on the top two, and if the top two don't click, then they'll really, and these guys are experienced. Rahmat Shah has been around for some time now. Najib has also been around for some time now. He has experience. Najib also has the raw power to sometimes just smoke spinners out of
Hmm.
nowhere.
Hmm.
So they'll really need these two to do well, because you can't really rely on Rashid or Mujib to just score some runs at the end and take you. And now that they are chasing, it is all the more needed that someone in the middle order
Hmm.
can step up and do something. And I feel Rahmat Shah or Najib should be one of those players to do it.
Hmm. Okay, I cannot not bring this up. When we spoke about the predictions before tournament, both of you picked Bangladesh for this game, and I picked Afghanistan. Now, I want to throw a stat. Since the 2019 World Cup, there have been 5 occasions when Bangladesh have been in a situation where they have to play a must-win ODI. They've lost all 5. So, does that mean anything? And how do you see this game proceeding? Or and are you guys willing to make any changes to your prediction?
You know what that stat tells you is that despite being in the reckoning for so long, Bangladesh have often not been able to take that required next step. We've seen enough times that they've got into winning opportunities and not been able to, uh, and that happens with upcoming teams. It happens even in Afghanistan. I am still sticking to the prediction because it's been the case with both teams. We've seen enough times with Afghanistan as well that they get into
Yeah.
positions but not are not able to close games. You look, 2019 World Cup is a very good example of that. There were 4 games that they could have won. Yes, it's a you know 4 years is a long time in cricket,
Hmm.
but that pattern really hasn't changed with them. Still sticking with the prediction, more so because now Bangladesh are batting first, and Afghanistan batting would really come under a lot of pressure. So still sticking to the prediction, but yeah, hopefully it's a good game nevertheless, because and we don't have what happened yesterday where we kept waiting,
Yeah,
watched
yeah.
the
That
innings and it got washed out.
no chances of rain in Pakistan. I mean, the Pakistan media and the people who run the cricket there have made it very clear on Twitter since yesterday that at least Pakistan mein tournament hota to there would not have been any rain. The last bit of prediction before we take a few questions that we have been getting from all of those who are watching, and please, if you're watching this, do like the video, subscribe to our channel if you're not done so already. Nikhil, first innings prediction. How many do you feel Bangladesh can probably get?
Yeah, I think it should be a close game. I don't think it will be high scoring, but again, just relying on the pitch report there and the attack that these two teams have, it should be around a 240 kind of a game. So I'll go with a score of 241.
Hmm. Gurkirat?
Yeah, I'd probably go for somewhere in the range of 260 to 270, 265, uh, because it's the changes that Bangladesh have made, showcase that they really want to bat well. And I mean, they have Afif at 8. So yeah, with Afif at 8, you should be able to post a total of 260, 270. And yes, it said that the pitch is dry, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Lahore's been typically very flat, so even if it's dry, I feel even by those standards it should be around 260, 265, maybe even 270, even if it's
Hmm.
dry.
Hmm. Okay, I mean, talking about me, the two numbers that are sort of surfacing in my head are 183 and 211. So
Oh wow.
let's see. We'll take a few questions. This is the first question that we received for this show, and it's a very good question. Who is most balanced side at the moment out of the two? Any one of you who wants to take this?
Yeah, I think just on paper, in terms of having people who can turn the game around, I think Bangladesh have the personnel and some recent form. With Bangladesh, with Afghanistan, I think the out of form nature and sometimes when Rahmat, Najibullah, and Shahidi are out of form, they don't get along in that sense in terms of getting the high score suddenly. So I feel in terms of depth and more options with both bat and ball, I feel in this game with this order for this deck, I feel Bangladesh are more suited.
Gurkeet, do you agree? Of course you do. Both of you have picked Bangladesh. How can you not agree?
See, you have to see Bangladesh at this point of time. You'll have to say they have better pacers. That they have better batting options. Far more stable middle order. The only thing where you could say that maybe Afghanistan is ahead is the spin attack. But
Hmm.
apart from that, Bangladesh definitely the more balanced side.
Hmm. Okay. Before we end this show, just a word on Rashid Khan, perhaps, and Gurkirat has his say on him being, accustomed to conditions at Lahore. Nikhil, where do you see Rashid Khan, the player, when it comes to ODI scheme of things? We already know he's a T20 legend already. But from an ODI lens, what are the areas where you feel that he still has to grow so as to become that same impactful player for Afghanistan? Because they need more match winners to sort of compete in this format.
I think with Rashid, it is not as straightforward because sometimes when you are the best bowler of the side, teams are going to play you very
Yeah.
safely and negate you out. So the pressure is not always on teams to because they know that they are going to play. They have enough options otherwise to take him on. And again, Rashid is someone who still ensures that he's able to make an impact, which just
Hmm.
tells you how good he is. Sometimes his usage also with different captains has been very particular, where they only use him after the 20 overs or
Hmm.
after a particular period of time because they want him to be used in a time when batters are attacking. But with this Afghanistan attack, there is Faruqi, there is Mujib, who are now starting to get into space where you can trust them to do the job and take wickets and not always go to Rashid. So I think now is the time where we will see Rashid maybe get a lot more ODI wickets as well because then he has partners to then hit teams as a unit. So I think this Asia Cup and the World Cup should also give us a good idea that eventually he'll still end up with 40 for 2 kind of figures. And it takes some skills to be consistently good for someone who's his age
Hmm.
on
But
paper.
yeah, coming to Gurkirat now, not just with the ball, right? I mean, we can expect Rashid to contribute with the bat as well. We have seen him develop as a batter in the past few years as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been the skill. He has the power, but sometimes with Rashid, the batter, you feel that he's too obsessed with playing that helicopter or that whip, and that just comes out too early. So, uh, yeah, maybe if he gives himself a little more time, he could really do that. Also, with regards to his ODI bowling numbers, there's been some criticism of his that he's only done well against smaller teams and not as much. He's played 93 ODIs, out of which. 21 have been versus Zimbabwe, 26 versus Ireland, 12 versus Bangladesh, 1 versus UAE, and 3 versus Scotland. That is two-thirds of his games, with these teams. It is not his fault that teams
Yeah.
also don't want to play Afghanistan, right? India did not play. They had a series schedule. Australia did not play. So you can only you can only play what's in front of you. And like Likhin mentioned about his strike rate numbers, when you know there is the biggest threat in the bowling attack, you will tend to play him out. That happened so many times with Jasprit Bumrah as well. In
Hmm.
the 2019 World Cup, you could really say that some of the wickets that Shami got at the other end were because a classic example that comes to my mind is that England game. Shami got a fifer, but that fifer was for 5 for 69 or something. Bumrah, on the other hand, ended up with figures of 0 for 46 in a 338 game. So, or 330 plus, if not
Hmm.
338 to be accurate. And so there is that factor as well. Many times when as a player, your reputation precedes your actual performance, teams have just made up the mind that we will not take risk against you. So
Hmm.
it happens. I mean, can't really do much about it.
Okay, yeah, I mean that is about it. As when it comes to previewing this game, let's see how the action unfolds. We'll of course be back post game to review the game, and let's see if this group is still Group B, if I'm not wrong, is still alive, or we already know who are the teams who will be part of the Super Fours. With that, Gurkirat, Nikhil, thanks for your time. We'll of course see you after the game. Thanks for everyone who tuned in. Like I said earlier, please do like this video and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. See you in about 7.5 hours, hopefully.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers, cheers, cheers.
Bye bye.